sheep, okay? The black-haired sheep or something, there we go.
But yeah, I mean, because of the radio deal, I mean, we've gotten jobs off the radio, and we've gotten some big ones off the radio. Not enough to pay for the radio, but certainly there might have been one big enough, sales volume big enough to at least equal to some of the revenue going out to the radio. So it hasn't been, it hasn't been a total loss by any means, but I'm just saying, it'd be nice to know, and a lot of people say, well, we just Googled you. That's still valid information. Now, it's a little bit like the old Yellow Pages, when we had Yellow Page ads years ago, it was like 3 different Yellow Pages. You'd say, which one? They go, the Yellow Pages, you know, but it could have been the Yellow Book, it could have been the Super Pages. So they go, I don't know.
Referral still is the absolute
Referral is
best.
still the best. Word of mouth. Hey, you did a really good job over at Mrs. Jones' house, and that's why I'm here. And those people come in, they're ready to spend.
If you can think about it, we do get a job from the radio. If you can do a job cost, and we have a file that we keep stuff in that we're trying to keep up the jobs from the radio. You put it on my seat or anything, and I'll put it in there. But that means that we don't know who's from the radio show all the time. So that just helps us knowing where we're getting the money.
Yeah, it just helps us at the end of the campaign, which is the end of the campaign's in March. So, speaking of that, Willie reduced my radio payment, which that's good news, significantly. But he moved us to 8 o'clock Sunday morning on 570. So we're no longer at 7 o'clock Saturday night. We're at Sunday morning, 8 o'clock on 570. We may be on at 10 o'clock until he sells that spot.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. So we could be on there twice. But we definitely are on there every Sunday morning, starting January, February, and
Well, maybe it'll be a different audience.
actually, I think it's 1st of March when the campaign's over. But anyway, all of January, all of February for sure. And maybe one Sunday in March. So, there you
Are there any commercials during the day?
go. Yes, there's 120 commercials during the day. As a matter of fact, we were driving up here and we heard one of them this morning.
120 commercials a month.
120, excuse me, 120 commercials a month. Yeah, I didn't mean a day. Sorry.
27 a week.
Sorry.
Are you in any publications, any kind of magazines?
TCU.
No, I mean, I do the TCU football program. That's and even that hadn't turned out to do anything.
That never does. Those things never, ever, ever.
Word of mouth, even when we do the churches, churches, we got in a church group there for a while, and we were doing a whole bunch of churches. So we did the Hallmark. I mean, if we need to ask for referrals to their fellow churches.
Yeah.
I thought about the word inventory sales kind of overdone, and people tend to think overstock means it's cheaper. So I wondered what y'all thought about saying overstock, because we have all that wood that needs to be sold, we have some carpet that needs to be sold. Just some thoughts.
That's what Yeehaw does. Yeehaw! They gonna break that glass. The warehouses here,
Surplus.
they want to hold it.
Surplus.
Yeehaw!
Builders, yeah. Yeah.
And I went by there for my daughter thinking, holy smoke, I'm gonna try to get her a deal. Went by there last week. That ain't no deals.
Yeah, it usually isn't.
Yes, talking about the referral part, something that I did in the past, my little experience with the granite. I would put granite in the kitchen, and I will tell the customer, if you refer me to another customer, you get a free vanity, 5 foot or less. Free vanity, top. The only intention for me was to get more customers, but instead people were looking for more projects in their houses to do, just to use that 5 or less square foot of granite on a vanity. So what I found was that when I offer a discount on your next project, people feel more encouraged to find something so they can take advantage of that.
So they would not only they'd buy more tile from you or whatever.
Exactly. They don't only got me another customer, but now they're still spending more on top of that.
How'd you do the remnants when they weren't yours? You just bought them anyway?
I bought them at cost price to the other contractors.
How is that? You got speaking of that, you had a countertop project that you're going to use Julio on.
Yes, but the guy, he decided to go somebody else. He was looking.
It's my life in the slow lane of the countertops.
So.
Okay, so probably what I'm going to do is I want to keep up with every week the referrals y'all get. I know that they're not going to be overwhelming. You may or may not have one by next week, next Wednesday. But what I want to do is, if you guys get one, let's sing out the praises. Let me know who it is.
Get one what now?
A referral.
Oh.
So in other words, next Wednesday, just bring me it's not a formal report, but it's a report. I want to hear if y'all have a referral from last week at any time. I want to know about it. So yeah, I do want to report that y'all have one, who it is and who the customer came from, if you know. So I'd like to have that when you come back next Wednesday. And I would like a list of some projects you're working on for quotes. I can certainly see the quotes that you're doing already and proposals, but I'd like to know some that y'all are working on right now. Every Wednesday, if you don't mind, just tell me the people that you just give me a list of the people y'all are working proposals on, because you might be working 3 or 4, and I just kind of want to know what the activity is, if that's all right. Not if that's all right, that's what I want. Sorry.
I did on my end. I did notice though, towards the end of the year, more and more people talking about the radio show, and yeah, significantly.
Well, and just to be clear, I did call this old boy. I don't remember who gave it to me, Bob or somebody.
Yeah, John. He came in because he called me, and I gave him your number. You talked to him. He was supposed to come in, and he came in Saturday, but Timothy turned around and talked to him, so he wrote him up for a free rug, supposedly. So I don't know how he did it, or if he asked him.
Oh, the guy that gave you the deal over the phone, and he was like.
Yeah, and I asked Timothy, I says, well, no, that's the same person that Theril's been talking to. Did he say what Theril wanted him to say when he come in? And Timothy said, yeah. So I don't know, because later on I talked to him, and he said, no, he says, I already went in there, he says, and you were busy, so I talked to another guy, and that was Timothy. So.
Well.
So I don't know what transpired.
Timothy was off yesterday, so.
Yeah.
He hadn't had a chance to tell me. We'll see. I'll ask him about it when he gets back.
Oh, speaking of earlier, when you put payments in for Credit Connect, put it in as credit card. We had somebody put it in as finance, and yes, it is finance, but it's considered a credit card.
looks like Leanne's here.
Can I talk just a minute about
Sure.
files?
Sure.
It's the
Yes.
time of year when we need all the files from last year put up,
All the completed ones.
all the completed ones.
You can keep all the ones you got proposals on that you didn't turn into jobs, because obviously those people may call you and you'll need those files. But if we had a job complete, we want to take those and file them, put them in a box.
And they're upstairs real easy to get back to. Now, we can actually do your proposals too if you want to, but that's something that, we need to start cleaning up and getting them out.
So you get this upstairs or to you? Those files.
The files, you can put them, we'll get a place to put them. Let's figure out where we want it, and, we'll start filing them away between me, Brenda, and,
Brenda already followed most of mine.
she did a good job. Thank you for
Yeah, she
giving
did.
that to her.
Yeah, I know
But
she
then
did.
they had to be taken out of the drawer and put
Later
up.
on.
Yeah. So,
Well,
and I know
yeah.
you keep yours, and is Jeff gonna keep his, or are we gonna file his away with us?
Any of his that are complete?
Yes. Now, I know John keeps his too in a file, 'cause they like to get to them immediately.
Doesn't matter, as far as I'm concerned,
If a job is complete and over with, then we need to file it in
Okay.
in that
it
year
probably be
stuff.
all in the same.
Okay.
It needs all be all together.
In my drawers, there are a whole
But
bunch
the-
of
but the-
files.
But just proposals, I don't really wanna take them out of your hands, because somebody may call you back that you measured 6 months, 9 months ago and says, hey, you know what, I'm ready to go. And even if you measure the entire house and you only did 1 or 2 rooms, let's go ahead and file it away. Then when they call you back, you still have the file. Technically, if you do it right, you can scan it into the documents folder and it's there. You don't even have to go upstairs, because you get your drawing back by going to the documents folder and reprinting it. But you can go back up there. They're all filed by years. They're all pretty, and they end up doing them alphabetically. They're filed alphabetically to make it easier to find. So you'll be able to grab them.
It helps your desk not get so many overwhelming.
Well, and also, if you're not here and if something's called in on, it should be where any of us can get to them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that's the deal.
Okay.
Can we check and see and make sure that pricing is correct on the floor?
Well,
We're running across people that we write quotes and then we find out that the prices are wrong.
well, okay, it's a never-ending job. All right. Well,
I
first of all, if you look on there and you check the date, and it's a year old, I can guarantee it's wrong. Okay. But if you look on there and the date's within the last 3 to 4 months, the answer is they should be. But Shaw's having a price increase about every 3 or 4 months.
Paprika's going up this
You
month.
should have been here during Hurricane Rita and Katrina. There were 7 price increases in 1 year. And that just almost was never happened. So,
If you find something that you find, let Brenda know or myself know, and we'll be happy to look at it. We just did, Brenda did the Mannington, because when it went to BPI, it went up, one of them went up 60 cents, didn't it? A lot. So we're only as good as the information we get, and it's changing rapidly.
yeah.
But we, you know,
Just tell us about it. If you see one that's over 6 months old, we can at least, it doesn't take long to go to the computer and check it.
no. And if it's in B2B, then Alice is doing that regular too. So,
Okay.
As soon as the reps send me I check my email, and the reps that send the prices, I forward it on to Dana and Brenda to get the price out there, so. And I save it, I always save before I email it to our shared folder, so.
Well, I need to turn the meeting over to Brenda. She's brought a guest here that's an adhesive specialist, but Robert and Jesse and me and Timothy need to have a meeting a little bit after, sometime today when all 4 of us are together, let's talk about schedule.
What's his name? Leah?
Leah.
Before you do that, please stand up and speak into the camera and welcome all your guests and tell them what they're watching.
I gotta stand up.
Well,
Do we do this over here?
that'd be awesome.
Where are you going, Jeff?
Get the hell out of here.
Oh, he owed me a quarter.
Tell me when to stop.
New year, new quarter.
Tell me when to stop.
That's good.
I claim this area for the king. Oh.
It's good to be the king.
Hey, Theril, we got a customer that's pulling down, a sheet vinyl that, supposedly was laid down with some black stuff, and they're trying to scrape it up. They can't get it all up, but they're gonna lay tile down.
Ceramic tile?
What can they?
Ceramic tile?
Yeah, what can they put on top of that to maybe for the adhesive to stick?
Ardex feather finish.
Feather finish?
Ardex feather finish will encapsulate.
If you move your coffee mug, we can see the phone number.
With
Awesome.
encapsulate, what's encapsulate?
It keeps the blacks, asbestos that's in the
Covers
blacks.
it.
When you put something in a capsule and it
yeah.
can't get out,
Can't get out.
that's called encapsulation. So, legally and technically and mechanically, Ardex feather finish has been approved for a number of years to go over black mastic.
So it'll go over that and tile can stick to it and won't become.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
good to know.
All right, so I'm going to welcome everybody today to the Floors to Go Texas show. We are doing a live broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So I want to welcome everybody. We got some special guests this morning. They're going to be a little surprised. I hope they're not too surprised. We have some special guests this morning. They're going to teach us some things about wood adhesive, some do's and some don'ts, and you're going to hear information here that you don't get at any other floor covering store. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you'll give me just a minute, we'll get our guests over here and get them started.
Perfect.
All right. So, have I met you before?
Yes, you have.
Yeah. John Mayers. What we're doing is
Distributes.
we're going to start we're going to go live to the whole. You don't have to go surprise. Really?
It's just that odd rosa big green.
Looks like everyone is getting their coffee before we get started. So welcome everybody that's on Facebook.
I've done this now for 30 years. Really?
Here at Floors to Go, Texas, we would love to see you come in. Come say hi at least to us. We appreciate all of our viewers.
Yeah, I've just got it somewhere.
Got your grandchildren watching you on YouTube Live.
No, that was an advertisement. I'd like to learn something new about wood. Can you?
Anyway. Well, how old was he?
It scratches and it dents.
But it's soft.
It's warmer on your feet than tile.
It's warmer on your feet than tile. It's got that natural look. And anything goes with wood.
And it won't hold up to big dogs.
I'll hold up to big dogs, depending on the species.
What's the number on it or the name of it?
Energy changes.
It feels better to the feet and to the knees.
How does that come in? What do you want us to use?
Sure. So, go with this one green stuff. And here's what we're going to do.
Morning, Leah.
Yes, I'm old.
Good.
This will be the background, so y'all stand right here.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Leah. Leah's our sales rep for Horizon Forest, who handles different kinds of wood products for us, from solid to engineered, and a lot of other specialty products. And we have them represented here on our showroom floor with a display. And this is a weekly meeting that we have. It's an educational meeting so that my people can all, and all our sales associates can be well informed of the latest products, the latest technology. And Lee has a special guest today. He's been in the industry for a number of years, probably as long or longer than I have. And he's a specialist with Fortain, and he's going to give us a little presentation. So Leah, introduce your guest.
Yes, so this is John Mears. He is our Fortain adhesive rep, and he's my go-to for all things adhesive.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get all the bodies over here. We distracted them with food, right?
Yeah. Running food.
I guess it worked.
John, why don't you tell this group, which camera does he look at? That little camera right there.
Sure.
Tell them a little bit about Fortain, John.
Okay.
Okay.
Fortain traditionally was a wood flooring adhesive company, started by an individual around 40 to 45 years ago, and during that time he's a urethane chemist. He's a geek, and was an R&D guy, and things began to go pretty well, and he began to hire people, did sales and marketing. It's kind of interesting to talk to an empty room.
Well, they're out there on the web. They're out there on the web.
But he did so well that a little bit of history. He did so well that that we were purchased a couple of years ago by a company called Roll Adhesives, make a brand called Parabond. You may have heard of Parabond.
Yes.
Okay. And that did so well, we got bought last month again. The bottom line is Fortain's gone from a very, very small company to a pretty good sized company. We still maintain our own factories, and we still maintain our own sales force. Now, couple that with me coming on board. I spent 30 years in the wood flooring business with a company called Theril. You probably heard of Theril. When I left Theril, I was their director in charge of sales, marketing, and R&D. So I was running the brand. Speaking of being in wood flooring for the most part is all I know. I will tell you what I know and what I don't know. And wood flooring is my specialty, obviously. When I came over with Fortain, all they had was wood flooring adhesive, so it was a natural for me. But during that time, I have taught wood flooring and wood flooring aspects of wood flooring, mainly stain and finish work, stains and finishes with those years at Theril. I've been all over the country teaching. I used to be lead instructor at NWFA. I'm a past president of the National Wood Flooring Association. So if I don't know the answer, I know someone that does, I guess is my point here. So I can be a valuable resource. This good-looking gentleman over here I have known since the early 80s. No, not you. Not her, that guy over there. But anyway, and so my point is not only can I help you with your glue needs, or I can probably help you with any other needs you may have in regards to just to wood. If you have a question, just call me. Wood is my passion. I love wood flooring, and I've always liked it as a floor covering. In fact, I spent 2 years making money in college working for a flooring contractor, and that's what got me my feet wet. Was actually working behind an edger. So back when I was 19, 20 years old, I could do that. So in the mid-70s, yeah, I worked an edger, and was a gopher guy for custom floors in Waco, which I don't think even exists anymore. But that being said, I've been with Fortain now for 6 years. Fortain is manufactured in Canada. We also manufacture in South Carolina. We are now owned by a company called H.B. Fuller. That's the last company that bought us about a month ago now. The nice thing is they don't change anything. They have recognized our success and have allowed us to maintain and keep growing our business. We do have some adhesives now that are not wood flooring related. They are obviously with some acquisitions. We have access to other technologies that previously we didn't. But when Parabon bought us, you know, like I said, 3 years ago, we were actually their supplier. So they bought their supplier. In other words, our customer bought us. That's how good we are at making urethane adhesives. And that's kind of my parlay into it. Everything on the wood side for us is a urethane type adhesive. From an adhesive standpoint, we make it very simple. We don't have certain levels. Like in other words, if you're gluing down a 3/8, if you're gluing down a 1/2 inch, you're gluing down a 5 inch or a 9 inch or whatever, we don't change adhesives on you. We give you one adhesive. All we ask you to do is change the trowel. Okay, so if you, in other words, if you have the glue in the back of your warehouse or glue in the back of the truck, you probably have the right glue. All you have to have is the right trowel. So we take one decision out of the equation for you and your customers. That being said, our number one item that we sell in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is the Fortain LD. Again, it is a urethane adhesive. What we're really known for is two things in the Fortain LD. We are known for ease of trowel, and we're known for ridge retention. Now, the guy who developed this product was the owner of the company back about 45 years ago. That's when y'all weren't at the table, the camera was here. He developed a product that didn't require fillers. A lot of people put fillers in their glues, mainly to get ridge retention. Well, fillers usually are pretty heavy. One of our largest competitors, their product contains anywhere from 20 to 30% fillers. Usually some kind of blend of calcium and limestone, which is a fancy word for ground up rock. Well, rocks are heavy, and they're also harder to trowel. So with that, what we have is a filler. We have a 5-gallon pail that only weighs 53 pounds, which is very light for this industry. Number two is it also makes it easier to trowel. The very first complaint I went on, well, he called me. I was probably with the company for about 6-7 months. He called me and said, something's wrong with your glue. I said, okay, what's wrong with it? He goes, it's too thin. And he was used to using one of my competitors. The bottom line was, his complaint was my glue was too easy to apply. He felt if it was that easy to apply, something must be wrong with it. And I said, no, sir. I had to convince him that no, that's how we make it. Don't judge us by your past history of using a glue that's hard to trowel. He's still one of my very best customers. Still does business in the Tarrant County area. So my point is the fact that it's easy to trowel. Now the flip side is like I said, a lot of people use fillers to get ridge retention. Our past owner chemist found a way to do that without the fillers. So in other words, you can put a trowel for us on a 90-degree angle. In other words, like this, improperly obviously, but you can spray that glue out, and the ridge retention the next day, no slump. Now, what does that mean for you? It means for you in the fact that if you put that trowel, that glue down properly, you will not get hollow spots, assuming you don't have a dip. If you're within tolerance of the recommendation on the installation, you will not get a hollow spot. Mathematically, it's impossible. So that's the two things we're known for on LD: ease of application and ridge retention of virtually 100%. Okay. Now LD does not have moisture protection. So if your job does not require moisture protection, Fortain LD is your item. If your job does require moisture protection, Fortain 1. And we have Fortain 1, which is just below the LD on your sheet there. Fortain 1 is our all-in-one. It is the crack suppression, the moisture protection, the sound barrier adhesive. It's our a lot of people call 3-in-1, 4-in-1. What do you want? You pick your number. That is our all-in-one adhesive. Our Fortain 1 does not require moisture testing. If your slab is dry, you put it down. The main difference between Fortain 1 and LD is obviously the moisture and sound protection or properties, but in 2 also we took the ridge retention out of it. In other words, it will slump, and it slumps on purpose, so that when you're putting down a moisture barrier glue, what's the first thing you gotta have is 100% coverage and 100% proper coverif I'm asking for 35 square feet per gallon, you better put it down 35 square feet per gallon. Do not come back to me and say, it was 300 square feet and I only used 5 buckets. So my point is the fact that if you get the material down correctly, you will now get proper protection with the 410-1. So we really only have 2 glues for your entire operation. If you don't have a moisture issue, use LD. If you have a moisture problem, use 410-1. Now, how do you know you have a moisture problem? Well, historically, the job has a problem. Number 2 is, even though we don't require moisture testing, you could argue, and I argue, being a former contractor a long time ago, I would argue that it's a proper thing for people to still test for moisture. You should know the conditions of the job you're doing. We don't require it, but I recommend it. I always have, and probably always will. You have a question?
Yes. So, where does the moisture issue begin for you all on 14 LD? For example, there's a couple of different testing methods, but the simple testing method that we have is a Tramex moisture encounter meter.
Yep.
Concrete encounter moisture meter. And if it goes over a certain threshold, then we go to another testing method. So,
what's your backup testing method?
well, it's relative humidity, where you
Okay.
drill holes in the concrete.
Yep.
Okay, so that'd be the next level of testing, but that's not until it goes over about 4 or 5.
Yes.
So if it's 3.5
You're fine.
on a LD,
Yep.
4,
4 is where I'd be in. When you reach 4, I want another test.
okay, and the test you recommend over 4 is?
You can go relative humidity if you want. It's on our tech data sheet on the information in regards to what level you want. You obviously, some people still use calcium chloride. A lot of people don't use calcium chloride anymore, and we understand that.
Too slow.
Too slow. I got you. Yes, sir.
Could you explain to our audience why we need to test the floor?
Well, testing the floor, wood has to live in the environment you are going to put it into. So even though you're putting down a glue that's going to protect your wood floor, the moisture still exists, and the moisture still is going to go somewhere. And so if you have a home that has high moisture, to me it's my responsibility as a homeowner to let them know, by the way, you have a high moisture home. You may have other issues. In other words, your doors may be sticking or whatever. I may be able to protect your wood, but I want to protect also the homeowner themselves. I make no promises in regards to your doors, but it's responsible to know what that homeowner is what this floor is going to live in. Let me give you a prime example. I mean, around here you're going to have in Texas 9-10% on your floor, right? If you go into a certain house and you're doing some testing, and all of a sudden you say, hey, well, this floor here may live at 10.5 or 11. You should know that going in because they do have a little bit of a moisture issue. Okay, so on your question,
When you said percentage, you were talking about percentage of the slab, or you talking about percentage of the wood?
the percentage of the wood.
Okay.
What's the wood going to live at?
Right.
Because high moisture is the enemy of wood, but the key enemy of wood is it has to get used to the if you have put down wood in a certain high moisture area, but it adapts to that, the changes is what will affect it. If you have a constant 10.5 or 11, you're fine. It's the 8 or the 7, then go again the 10.5 or 11. That really makes a difference. Because you can have problems with wood and not have high moisture. Ask Denver, because they go so low when they have temperatures like this. This is their high for the day. They get so low down there. They have opposite problems that we have. They get too dry and they get problems. It's the variation that is more the enemy than anything else. So we have 14 LD and we have 14-1. I do want to go over the other ones briefly, just so you know what we have. If you have a homeowner that has chemical sensitivities, it's a no VOC product. It's commonly known as an MS polymer. We have the 14-0. It does have moisture protection with it also. It's not big in Texas, but it is available. If you see a commercial spec, He was sitting there. If you see a commercial spec, for instance, that asks for a MS polymer, or someone who I want a glue you can virtually almost eat, theoretically. It has no isocyanates in it. This would be the glue you'd look for. MVS Ultra. Before you had the all-in-ones that had the moisture protection and no testing needed, it was very common to use a two-coat system. MVS Ultra is a urethane moisture barrier. Then you come back with putting the glue over that. Then you put it into the then you install the wood. And of course, the last one item we have is Fortane CL, which is our adhesive remover. It's called CL. I don't like the name CL. It's not really a cleaner. I don't want to just cross over to. It's not a hardwood floor cleaner. It is a adhesive remover. Is really what it is. It is not simply mineral spirits in a bottle. If you smell it, it smells very different. But I encourage people to always have a bottle of cleaner, obviously, on every job you're doing. The question of cleanup adhesive always comes up. And here's what I will tell you. The first thing is, do a bad job of wiping. I'd rather have a smear than a glob or a string. Globs and strings are extremely difficult to remove, but if you give me a smear, I can get every smear off very simply. Take the cleaner. You heard of the Miracle sponges? They're white, about this big. Okay, soak that Miracle sponge in cleaner. Put it on the surface. Wait about 30 seconds. Start rubbing. It'll begin to remove the adhesive, and takes a couple applications. The cleaner will leave a residue. Okay, get you a clean dry cloth, towel, and wipe that area, and it will the spot. It's a shiny spot. It'll go away, but it will leave a residue. So just caution you there. Don't be shocked by it when you all of a sudden you see these shiny spots on the floor. They will all come off. Okay. Now, just so we go to be complete today, if you turn this over to the back, with our acquisition by Royal, we do have a couple of some products here for non-wood applications. The biggest one by far, obviously, is the first, the light blue and the PSA. We do have a PSA in our line now. Obviously, I can tell you the obvious. The formula is from our sister company. It's a great product. And we had people that began to ask us for, especially a PSA, because there's so much PSA sold and so much LVT sold. So we do have a PSA. In fact, you have it in inventory.
For our listening audience, PSA stands for pressure sensitive adhesive.
Yes.
So that you can technically, well, pressure sensitive adhesive, you can do carpet tile.
Yep.
You can do LVT.
Yep.
Yeah. And
the nice thing about PSA is the fact that it's one of those things where you, oops, I want to change, or I scratch something, I can take a plank out and I can put another plank back in its place. Yeah, that's the PSA.
That's important for a homeowner who has a glue down floor.
Move the refrigerator, scratch the floor, and can now replace that.
If they have attic stock.
Yes, yes. But yeah, that's the big selling point of PSA. They have enough stick to keep the floor down, but in turn they also are able to replace that an LVT plank, for instance, or a carpet tile or what have you, to make it pretty simple for the homeowner or a commercial job. I mean, you never know what's going to scratch a floor. When they have move-in, you never know. So, but we do have a PSA that's by far our #1 seller. The industry is big on the PSA side. Okay, any questions you have? Yes, sir.
Yes, I know that industry does not recommend gluing down solid wood on the concrete slab.
Yep.
But if the customer insists that they want to glue it down, which of these would you recommend?
Okay. Question was, you glue down. Do I recommend, or do I like gluing down solid hardwood flooring? And if so, what product do I recommend? We do a lot of business in Houston. In fact, when I first came on board here 6 years ago, Fortane was such a small company. We only had one distributor in the whole state of Texas, and he was in Houston. Texas Wood Hardwood Floors was our initial distributor here in the whole state. In Houston, probably 20 to 30% of our sales are glue down solids. So if you glue
Wow.
down, if you can glue down solids
In Houston?
no less. Now here's what we have done, and because here's the key thing: you can use LD, but everybody knows solids are much more sensitive to moisture than engineered. The engineers of today, I will give those manufacturers credit. Like I said, I've been in the business since the late 70s, early 80s, and I can tell you, the engineers of today versus the engineers back then are like two different animals. All right, and so the quality is so much higher than it used to be. The ability to adapt to the environment and live in certain environments is so much better than it used to be. And the top coats are so much better than it used to be. That being said, if I'm gluing down solids, I'm always using a moisture barrier glue. I want the I'm taking the insurance.
The 14-1.
The 14-1.
14-1.
You better believe it. I'm never going to glue down solids with LD. I know some guys that will do it, and there's nothing wrong with it technically, but solids, as we all know, they're sensitive to moisture in a big way, and I would personally I would never do it with that 14-1. And I'm gonna give about 30 square feet per gallon.
And if you have any callback problems, what are they usually? Not enough adhesive applied?
Yeah, usually I've been on 2 complaints over the last 6 years. One was they didn't remove the paint from the substrate, and it popped up from the paint. The other one was we popped the board up and I didn't have 100% coverage. You want 100% coverage? You want 100% a lot of coverage. In this case, more is almost better, especially on solids. But I don't want you to use too much glue, but in this case,
What kind of solids are you talking about? 3/4 inch?
3/4 inch solids. A lot of them are shorts. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Some guys will go 3 and 4 and 5. I don't like that. I'm not big on that, but they do it. Some guys will nail and glue. They want the glue for the moisture protection, and they'll nail and glue on the 5s and 7s down there. But shorts are glued down constantly in Houston.
You have to roll it after you put it down? Is there any
No,
rolling?
do not roll it.
On solids, you don't roll it?
Nope.
You roll it on engineer, though.
You can, yes, I like to. We don't require it, but I like to.
That's surprising, since you have ridge retention.
Well, my ridge retention, if I'm getting contact, all I need is the contact. At engineered, we recommend 70% coverage, 80% coverage. That's kind of what you want. But the tensile strength of LD is the second highest in the business. The only one higher than ours is only by about 20 pounds on the tensile strength side. LD is extremely, it's a very strong urethane adhesive. Remember, I don't have any fillers in mine, so when you're putting down my glue, you're putting down a whole lot of urethane. The resin of a urethane is an amazing animal. The fact they can make it into a really good finish, and they can make it into a really good adhesive, and everything in between, is urethane is one of those resins that the German chemists invented back in the 50s. It was pretty phenomenal. And because, like I said, because we don't have any fillers in ours, you're putting a lot of urethane on the floor, and so that interior floor is not going anywhere.
Interesting.
That is.
We're one of the few adhesives that doesn't use fillers.
Questions?
And again, it goes back to our remember, our founder was not a sales and marketing guy. Our founder, when I first met him, I kind of embarrassed myself, but I kept my job. When I first met him, I thought he was the chemist. And I said, how long you gonna be working here? I didn't know what he looked like. I mean, I walked into a small company, and I met him again later. He still has on this white coat. And I was still going, like I said, I came from Jersey at Sherwin-Williams, so everybody who had a white coat on was a chemist. And this guy walked around all day with a white coat, but he's the owner. He really was. He was a urethane geek. I mean, he really was. He's pretty a brilliant guy. But he invented LD. Like I can tell you, my boss came from a competitor of ours, and he said while he was at that competitor, they wanted to figure out how he did it, and they still can't figure out how he did it. LD is a pretty unique glue in that regard. Now, do you do send and finish work?
Very little.
Very little?
But
Okay.
we do have finished.
You ever have any questions on send and finish, just give me a call. To be honest, I'm a glue guy now, but I was raised on sand and finish.
What's the widest and or longest plank you'd recommend gluing down on concrete?
Engineered,
Solid.
solid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. This is mine, not the company's. I'm not going any higher than 5.
Okay.
Most of the planks are no longer than that.
Well,
I mean, I'm talking
we're
long.
talking about width.
I'm talking about width.
5 inches.
The length is not near as big an issue because the wood grows which way?
Wide.
Exactly. Okay. And I'm assuming you're talking about a plain sawn. Okay, not a quarter or a rift. All right. So, but lengthwise, your biggest problem is you need to get some bags and some buckets out there to make sure when you put it down that it's those long 12,
The bowing.
12 exactly the bows and the warps on those 12 and 14 foot boards. Even the best mills I've seen, and I've been in a lot of mills over the years, especially ones up in the Midwest. Maybe some beautiful flooring, but to keep that 12 to 14 foot board from not having a little bit of twist, and that little bit of twist, or if I can't get the board down, you know, the glue can't overcome that because it's eventually gonna no green grab is gonna be that strong initially. Once I get it down there, then I can hold that warp away. But that's the biggest problem is that not the width is my issue, not the length. Yes, sir.
Have you ever cut a curve?
Some people cut a curve. Yes. Oh yeah. Yep. And that does help. Yep.
Okay, now,
In
I
fact,
don't
some
understand
people will cut a curve sometimes because the plywood is so bad these days. They can kerf their plywood, which is how bad plywood is these days. You got to kerf your plywood. You ever seen that?
For our listening audience.
Curve.
I know what it is, but for our listening audience.
You're turning the board up on his backside, and you're cutting through a little irrigation ditch on there across the board to give it more flexibility. Is what you're doing. You allow you to get to lay down better.
Bend.
And bend, yes. Don't get so fancy in here, buddy.
Actual experience. That's
Yeah, I know.
I thought we were talking about
Yes, sir.
grading on a curve.
When you're working on a flooded floor,
Mm-hmm.
what's the process, the prep process you recommend before you can go ahead and
Well,
do that?
a flooded floor is like anything that you want that floor, that slab, the environment, to return back to normal first. Till it returns back to normal first, you don't do anything. I love people who go, okay, the house at one time was 10%. We had a flood, now it's 15%. Oh, now it's 13. Oh, it's getting better. Let's go ahead and move on. No, you don't move on. The floor, I want the environment to return back to normal first. Because what I tell you about 5 minutes ago about the enemy of wood. The enemy of wood, 1 is moisture, but 2 is also the variation. So if you applied that wood at 13, and also the house finally returns to normal and goes to 10 or 9, you're going to have problems. And that's the responsibility of any installer. I'm big on doing it right. I don't want to do it over again. I learned that when I worked in. If I did a bad edging job, I got in trouble.
You had to go back.
I had to go back, and I learned it, and my back hurt. So I didn't want to go back. So I learned to do it correctly. I will give that old man credit. He taught me to do it correctly because I don't want to do it again.
This
Yes.
is, for our viewing audience, I brought an example of kerfing. This is a manufactured kerf.
Yep.
These lines are called kerfing it's for a lot of different reasons. Some is for moisture, some is for to take warping or curving out.
Yep.
That's what kerfing is. And you can mechanically add these to some woods.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's called kerfing.
And you do it on solids very easily, but it adds to the stability of the piece. That's the bottom line. It makes it easier to install.
We learn a new word.
What else?
Now, the trials, you have all these trials that go with all these deals.
It's on every bucket, what trowel you use, depending on the dimensions of the flooring.
And,
That's real important.
Yes, oh, it's
do the
vitally
kids
important.
on
30 square foot
The
per
glue
gallon.
cannot overcome a bad trowel job.
I like it.
That's great.
It cannot.
That's a great way to say
I
that.
like it.
It is.
Do the trials, are the trials actually marked? This trial covers 25 to 30 square feet, this trial covers 35 to 45.
Our trials are not, that's the specifications with his glue. So that's what they found, applies.
So every time we have to say, if we want this kind of coverage, we have to say we need a square notch, or quarter by quarter by quarter, or 3/16, right?
Yep.
Yep.
You specify with your installer, this is the type of trowel that you need to have available to spread this glue to get the coverage that you need.
How often do you need to change that trowel?
Good question. On a square notch, you can go further because the square notch, remember, you're troweling on slab, right? We're a slab market. You're troweling on slab. And the metal on the slab grinds down eventually, okay? Now, every bucket, obviously, that trowel begins to lose some depth, okay? Now, if you're to use a square notch, though, chances are you're probably putting down engineered, all right? And I'll explain that to you in a second. You're probably putting down engineered. And so, therefore, you can probably go a couple of buckets and you change that blade. On the flip side, if you're using a moisture barrier glue, now it's interesting, some of my competitors will recommend a square notch trowel for a moisture barrier glue. I don't understand that. Because when you put that gap in there, remember, you gotta have 100% coverage. I don't care if it's my glue or anybody else's. You don't have 100% coverage, you don't have moisture protection, right? So therefore, if you're using a square notch trowel and it has to flow in there when you put the board down, right? You may have less coverage there or no coverage. So I want to make sure. So I don't ever recommend, and it's the same in our book, I want a pointed sawtooth trowel. Now, that sawtooth trowel with that point is going to grind down quickly. So I'm going to change that blade every bucket.
Wow.
Oh, that's something we need to be sure and know.
Every bucket. Because what happens when you all of a sudden grind that point down? It eventually turns into a square notch. You could, theoretically, turn it into a square notch.
It will.
Remember what I said a minute ago. Glue can't overcome a bad trowel job. That includes a bad trowel job. Remember, when you're using a moisture barrier adhesive, you're really purchasing insurance to some degree in the fact that you're trying to ensure the fact that job does not fail. And you have the best success. So therefore, don't mess up on the backside. Yes, sir.
There was an adhesive that had the moisture barrier in it, and then there was a same manufacturer had an adhesive that didn't have it. And at the time of the installation, we weren't able to get the one with the moisture barrier in it. So the manufacturer rep said, trowel it with the back side of the trowel, and then go over with a notch side of the trowel.
Okay.
To make it a moisture barrier.
It's
Okay.
not very scientific.
It's not scientific. I assume, hopefully, I don't know. I don't speak about competition from the standpoint of good or bad. Here's what I would hope they had tested that theoretically. Now, first thing is, did everybody understand what he just said? He took the trowel, let's say this is the trowel with the teeth side. He took the smooth side first and buttered the entire floor. Okay? Then he comes back. Now, on LD and on R1, LD will stick to dried LD. Okay? So, in that instance, I want to butter that and let it cure first, because if you come back and then use a sawtooth, you're going to cut back into that. I don't want to cut back in it and go back into back down to the slab. But then he then come back with the teeth side and apply to make it a moisture barrier adhesive. Let's just go science for a second here. Part of not all of it, but part of the moisture barrier properties of adhesive is thickness. In other words, let's take a non-moisture barrier glue, the 14 LD. If I applied at 80 square feet per gallon for an engineered floor, which is what you're gonna get, 60 to 80 square feet per gallon on most of your engineered floors. If I apply the LD, I am going to not get moisture protection. But if let's say in turn I apply LD at the 30 square feet per gallon rate, I will get some moisture protection. I will no longer be at 3 pounds. I may be at 5 or 6. Okay, so that's not scientifically done. It's what you make the assumption. Okay, I would never recommend that, but I know how the manufacturer does. But so some of the moisture protection does come from the actual thickness of the material being applied. The other part does come from the actual ingredients in the material. Does that make sense? So I assume he's playing the game of thickness of application. Hopefully it went well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is there any way to tell, on tile, you can actually tap it and you can hear it hollow where it's not been glued down?
Yep.
Is there any way you can do wood the same way?
Oh yeah, all the time. I wanted to tell you. Yes. You walk into a home, all of a sudden you see blue tape everywhere, and you'll go, yeah, you tap on it, and you can hear the difference.
Okay.
Same concept in your house, looking for a stud to hang a picture. Exact same concept. And when you hear the sound that's different, that's when you know it's, but yeah, wood floors, oh yeah, you can tell.
I know the answer to this question, but for the listening audience.
Yes.
Should every home have a hygrometer in there?
Yeah, every home should have a hygrometer. And that's not just for the benefit of the wood, that's for the benefit of the house itself.
Okay.
Because there is so much wood in a home that is not wood flooring. Wood flooring is just one part of the equation. But you want that house to be stable too from the standpoint of humidity. Yes, every home should have a hygrometer.
And
It's a little thing that sits on the shelf in the library.
yeah.
I don't have any books in my library, all I have is a hygrometer.
But you read it.
I can't read that. I'm not big on books.
And the ideal relative humidity, the hygrometer measures humidity.
Yep.
And the ideal humidity in a home, say in the wintertime, because we're trying to dry our houses out in the wintertime.
Yes.
Right? Should be 35 to 55?
Yep.
Okay. Just want our listening audience to be educated.
35 to 55.
Well, it's not only for the house, it's for your skin and hair and everything else too.
But yeah, I never thought about all
Don't
the
go
other,
over
I
here.
never thought about all the other ways.
That hurt. I did like your question, but you seem to be a very nice lady. But I got changed my mind.
See, everybody picks on me.
You started it. I kid you.
That's all right. That's all right.
I've been bald a long time. I'm good at it. Okay.
Down here doesn't look bad, just don't bend over.
Right.
It was those years running the edge.
That's right. Hit the wall, man.
Oh, geez. Oh, okay. So if we use the 14-1
Yes, sir.
as a moisture barrier, and there is a possible, you're saying the moisture can go up to what?
On 14.1,
Yeah.
we have no limit.
No limit.
As long as the floor is dry,
When you start.
when you start, yeah, we have no limits. Now, if you have a floor, let's be honest here. I told you, I don't, I tell the truth past maybe where I should, but you read our fine print, read our directions. If that floor has a history of moisture problems, then we're gonna have a problem. Because
Yeah.
you know walking in, you
Yeah.
lack of a better way to put it, set us up, if you will,
Sure.
okay? But theoretically, yeah, there's no moisture testing required.
On your, okay, so.
Now, let me clarify for the viewing audience. Here is my opinion. You remember a long time ago when Engineered first came out and they said, I remember that first Engineered floor that came out and said, we now have a 5-year warranty on our finish. You remember that a long time ago? Before that, there was no warranty on finish. They wouldn't do that, okay? Then all of a sudden someone said, well, you got a 5-year, I'm gonna go 10. Oh, you got 10, I'm gonna go 15. Now I'm going 25, now you got 50. 50? My point is are the finishes today better than they were 20 and 30, 40 years ago? No question. Because back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of them were using Durasteel and paste wax for pre-finished floors and on some old varnishes. They weren't using UV lines and everything else. So are the finishes better? Not even close. No question about it. But to say you have a warranty and you're going to warranty a finish for 50 years is a stretch. Let's put it that way. Okay. Now you have glue manufacturers that have come out and said, okay, on your all-in-one products, we don't require moisture testing. We weren't the first ones to come out and say that. Our competitors did. We tested our glue against our competitors and found that we performed equal or better than theirs from the standpoint of moisture protection. Did our own homework and said, okay, let's play the game. So we now have moisture protection. I mean, is it fair for us to say that? Yes, because it does protect the floor. You do it correctly, it will work. My point though is it becomes more of it's a performance level that we have reached, but there's also a marketing component to it. Am I making sense to it? Okay.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I was just asking a question.
No.
For the 14.1,
Yes, sir.
it says right here warranty. Basically, it says a copy of the limited warranty can be obtained by calling a technical service. Have you read that?
Oh yeah, it's on our website too. 14.com.
Can you give me the abridged or the abbreviated version, the Reader's Digest version of the warranty?
Well, the limitations are mainly also in here. I don't have to do it for memory. For instance, subfloor must have no pre-existing moisture conditions or failures from conditions of high alkali or hydrostatic pressure. In other words, if the floor fell before and you walked in, that's one of the biggest ones right there. If you skip that and go to I'll give them credit, at least they highlighted it. Read those two right there. That's probably your two biggest exclusions. I can tell you, if we have a complaint, and I haven't had one yet, but I guarantee you I will. It's just you're in the business, okay? But I guarantee the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check some things. But we have a guy who does all this for us, and he's going to because if you already have moisture problems, then we got to fix it. Well, first thing we're going to do is yank a board and check the glue, and check the coverage, and check how much you put down. See if we have 100% coverage, 100% sufficient coverage. Most complaints I've been on or talked to, I'm very familiar with a couple of guys here that do NFA inspections. They call me all the time to counsel on mainly stains and finishes, but glues also now, but mainly stains and finishes, like I said, due to my background. And we all discuss all these things that can and do go wrong, and that's usually the number one thing.
Well, for example, a homeowner could have just bought a new house. To them, it's a house. It's existing house. It's new.
New to them.
They don't know if there's a chronic problem or not. We, the flooring people, are going to come in there and pull up whatever carpet that was there, or pull up another floor. If we don't see any moisture down there, we're not going to know if it's chronic or not. Are we?
Probably not, but you'd be surprised that carpet has enough of a retarding effect that if you have a sufficient problem, you might see a little pool or a moisture. Go put your hand on it and go, you know, I might want to check. Remember what I said when I first started this about discussing 14.1? We don't require it, but if I'm a flooring guy, if I was still a flooring guy, I'm checking for moisture.
Every time.
Every time. It's a responsible thing to do, not only for you, but also for your customer.
That's what we do.
Thank you.
That's what we do here at Floors to Go, Texas.
Yes, that's what
we do check every time.
Yep.
We know that our competition doesn't check.
And they.
Hey everybody, sorry to
Hi.
interrupt you.
Wave to the camera.
Wave to the camera. You're on
Am I there?
TV.
Hi.
We've heard horror stories from Houston where people their floors were root. They didn't wait long enough. They put a floor down. That floor's already coming up, and they're on their second floor being laid down, and it's still too early to do that. That floor is.
Oh, for the floods?
Yeah.
Yep. We're going through that now. In fact, we're running efforts down there. Some of my distribution, we are actually trying to promote only 410-1 for all installations now till further notice. And the purpose and goal of that is obviously because of the fact, even though the water's gone, they got 50 inches of rain. There's enough water in that ground, you know, to probably fill several oceans. So we are promoting 410-1 down there until further notice.
And so far, have you had a 410-1 failure down there?
Not yet, but it's kind of early.
Sure.
I mean, we're probably 4 to 6 weeks into it. So I would feel a whole lot better answering that question in about 3 to 4 months.
Sure.
Because by then you'd begin to get a lot more activity and readings if you were going to have a problem. So far. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's. I don't want to go back. I don't want to call.
Well, if the people have already had too much, they shouldn't have to do floor after floor either.
True, that's right. Yep.
All right, well, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
No, we learned a lot today.
Learned a lot today. Good stuff.
I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. There is one thing you should know. 817-832-5857. That's my cell phone number. I answer it 6 days a week.
Got cards?
I don't answer on Sunday. I somehow got with no cards. All you need is my number.
Write his number.
I live in Flower Mound.
Oh, close. Okay,
Right.
give us the number again.
817-832-5857. I answer 6 days a week. I don't work on
Name?
Sundays.
Your name is?
John, like the singer, John Mayers with an S. You know a stupid story? I'm in Chile about 3 years ago, and I hand my credit card to the waitress, and I see all of a sudden they're beginning to talk, they're beginning to wonder. You know, they don't notice the S on the back of my name, right? That's the first thing, right? Anyway, I can see the question beginning to come up. And finally, she comes to me and goes, I gotta ask you. She goes, are you related to the singer? And I said, no. She goes, then she really blew me away. She goes, were you named after him? And I go, I'm 57 years old. I'm now 60. Right? I said, I'm 57 years old. She goes, okay, sir, but were you named after him?
Oh my God.
And I'm going, wow, she didn't get it. I said, please don't vote. I mean, but it took a while. I said, no, he'll be named after me. Because I'm older than him. I came before him. I have a son his age, you know, so. Now, she finally got it, but it took to explain it. The bad thing is I have an 18-year-old son who actually is also John Mayers.
Oh, gosh.
And he's a kicker for his high school. And he goes to these national kicking camps to get ranked. And they always announce his name, and always say, oh, the kid with a famous name, where's John Mayers? You know? But anyway, thankfully, so far, he seems to be a pretty good guy, so I know he's not ruining my reputation. Anyway, if you're going to Chili's for intelligence, don't go to the one in Cedar Hill. I used to live in Cedar Hill. Anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. Please give me a call if you have a question. That's what I'm here for. If you didn't use my product, that's fine. I'll still tell you my opinion. I won't try to cross the boundaries into what they should or should not say. But I would send you back to that manufacturer. But if you want to discuss technology, you want to discuss a concept or an idea, just call me. I'm here.
Great.
Thank you.
John, thanks.
You bet.
Very much. I appreciate
Hope everybody had a good holiday. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lee, do you want to say anything? You good?
Yeah, why don't you sign off and then we can talk pricing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
where we met? Rico?
Possibly.
Oh, the shows. The market?
A lot of the trade shows we met before.
Maybe
yes.
services?
Probably.
You go to services?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's probably my I saw you.
Okay, he's gonna
Well,
sign off on the camera and then we'll.
I just want to thank everybody for joining us today on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. This is what we do here at Floors to Go every week. We try to stay educated, stay up with all the latest trends and the latest technology in the industry. so that we can give you better service and we can be stand out above all our competition. Because we know that our competition doesn't always do the best practice methods, but we do here at Floors to Go Texas. So thank you very much and have a great day.